Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Better You podcast. We are joined, as always, by Ravi Patani and our intake coordinator, Ali Bailey. We're also joined by Steph Schrodoff from Sensory. Steph, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I started Sensory in 2024, and there was a very specific reason why. I had been in finance and intellectual property law for a good 20 years. I hate to date myself, but I ended that in 2009, and then I went on to open four wellness businesses. They were all brick and mortar, and that was like a 7-day a week business for me. And my exit on my fourth business was in 2020, and I had big idea of going back to corporate. And I went back into IP with a European firm. And I just thought it was going to be great. I'm like, oh, I can close my computer at the end of the day. I'm going to have my weekends, my evenings. I'm no longer that 7-day a week business. And I couldn't have been more wrong about the positive impact I expected. It was actually a big departure from my typical well-being. I had been in a wellness business and I had worked with thousands of people for their wellness. And, as a byproduct of that, I was taking care of myself. But then getting back into corporate, I found my body exhausted, my mental fatigue, I had no pep in my step. The wear and tear was significant. And it occurred to me that the last time I was in technology in corporate was in 2009. And back then you were issued BlackBerry. You had your own personal phone. And, I also had a Palm Pilot. So 3 different devices, but work ended. But fast forward to 2020, work was in my pocket, in my purse. It was constantly with me. And this always on mode was something that I had not had the chance to adapt to. And it's sneaky because staying in corporate from 2009 to 2020, it just grew with the apps and the rapid adoption of them. And really in 2012, and all that smart technology has really worked against us. We are in this rabbit hole. And when I was with my, working back in corporate, I started to use my own hacks and tricks. I had owned an essential oil business before. So I was reaching out for my essential oils. I was setting a timer on my phone to get up. I was putting, visual triggers on my desk to remind me to sit up tall. I put like Post-it notes on my screen to blink, because you blink 33% less when you're on your phone or when you're on your device or screen. All of these things started to help me achieve more in a day, feel better, and just to be a better person. And I thought there was something here. I really felt a huge need to share this. So I created Sensory. I'm also a teacher of barre, of Legree, Pilates, yoga. I actively teach. I have my MBA from Kellogg. I'm certified in wellness, and I'm actually Canadian, and I grew up in the mountains. So my LLC is called the Forest Practice, because there is nothing more therapeutic than a walk in nature. No prescription drug, no therapy session on a couch can really do the wonders of just getting out there and letting your body respond to, sensory rich environments. So that's why I called it Sensory. And I'm really happy to be here. And I hope that collectively we can make an impact in some lives.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Um, I mean, we're here really to talk about tech burnout, as it were, the mental health issues around technology. And from a personal perspective, I have to say, like, it's easy to miss. Um, you know, we don't recognize how much it happens, but like I feel like no matter what I do on the computer, because I'm on my computer like 18 hours a day almost. Um, but the sense of accomplishment is always diminished. So it feels like you're just chasing more and more and more and more
Mhm.
and more. And I don't know if that's because of the way that a lot of these products were designed to just grab you and hold you, or what that is. But I can say that personally, like if I'm having a day where I'm working, all day, I'll start work at, 5, 6 in the morning, and then it gets to 5, 6 at night, and I've done a lot, but I'm incredibly depressed. I have a headache. There's just all this other stuff going on, and there's this sense that I haven't done anything at the end of it, which is, I mean, horrible sometimes.
Yeah, that is tech-driven burnout. You've been subjected to some smart algorithms, and like in the social media, but even like shows you watch, they have that little at the end of an episode, like next episode in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They're hooks, and there's rapid dopamine hits that you get, and there is also this new term that wasn't in existence 10 years ago called FOMO, right? So you're always in nature, human nature, you don't want to be behind. And the technology that you're working on, Aaron, from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m., there is that desire to stay, to do more, because at the end of the day, you want to see some productive things you can actually measure. But when you have an always on mode and you're in that focused mind all day, and you're not letting that brain reset by getting up, and I'm not talking about anything expensive or time consuming, it's accessible to everyone. You just get up and walk around and move. Our bodies evolved to move, right? That's what our human body needs. So when you get up and you get away, you shift your brain from focused into a new gear of kind of creativity, innovation, problem solving. And then that lets the focused, the real logical, where you can be in that intensive mode, replenish. And you'll get more done in a day by taking these little breaks. But it's also, Aaron, this might sound a little brutal, but instead of thinking like about all the goals a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, I know you're all busy achievers. If you think about just being present in what you're working on, and you really think, okay, this is where I need to spend my time, then you have no guilt, no regrets, because you've absolutely said, this is where I'm putting my time. And then if you can push yourself to really put your phone away, so you're not getting those digital distractions, those notifications, because each notification takes you away from, when you really get in that zone, you're making some real like traction, that stupid notification derails that. And a significant distraction, like a phone call or a text that you reply to, it takes 23 minutes to get back to that cycle of really effective, valuable work. So notifications are very harmful. You want to keep your phone away when you're in your productive mode there.
I absolutely agree. And that's actually something that years ago I built into my routine of, like, if I'm doing especially a task that requires a large amount of focus, I won't respond to emails. My phone goes on the other side of the room and it goes on vibrate, so I can't even hear it. Um, and a ton of things so that there's no distractions, because yeah, it's true, when you get distracted from something you're dialed into, it takes a long time to get back into focus on it. But the thing that I've noticed is that even in our society, even the things that are there to help us kind of regulate and kind of get away from the over plugged in sense that we all have are still kind of technologically driven. Like I'm still setting a timer on my phone to check back in at a certain time. I'm still getting uh, alerts when I'm going for a walk just in case, something happens or whatever. So I feel like it's a very interesting dynamic that we're in
Mhm.
where we're just always, even when we're out, we're always plugged in somewhere. We're always, a couple seconds away from getting right back in.
Yeah, it's true. It's unfortunate that digital overload is often serviced by digital solutions. And in fact, this I may sound like a hypocrite, but I did create an app for Sensory, and when I developed it with the developers, they kept encouraging me to figure out a way to keep people longer in the app, and that was completely against my model. So my app is for corporate white label to use for their employee well-being, but it sets timer, like I set their schedule of when they want to be reminded to take breaks. And then it's sort of a self-diagnosis, like, what do I need right now? Like, am I feeling like mentally stressed, or am I feeling thirsty? Simple things, physical, mental. And you take that break, and then it has sensory enrichment with sounds of nature. Just escaping from the mode you were in and taking you kind of into that forest environment, the nature environment, with just a few minutes of listening to some sounds of nature. And at the end of the little micro break, you can enter some notes if you want, and then set them free, like things that you just want to get off your chest. But also you can have a direct line to management of things that you would like to see changed in the environment that they work in, because surveys are never anonymous if organized by the company, but the contract with the app and the user is that any suggestion box items come through me, and then they get a wellness report card. So that is one technology element, but it's an in and out. But for us, we need to be very prudent to think about, we have to get over ourselves. We're not that important. We can get through the night without having our phone in our bedroom. We did it 30 years ago. We can go for walks without a device. So that's on us. It's on us to be stronger than the technology, stronger than that FOMO, stronger than, just being victimized. Our phones, our devices were designed to be tools. And they've turned into like tools that we would use to tools of abuse. They're abusing us. And there's a lot of smart technology in there that's actually kind of making us dumb. We're not taking care of ourselves. Like, and Rabbi was talking about posture, and you were too, Aaron. But like, when you're using all the smart technology, all these things, you're in a rabbit hole, and then your body's senses are numbed. You're not noticing. Nobody wants to get a sore neck, right? But why do you do it? You're not paying attention. Your senses are numbed. And before you know it, you are rounding through your shoulders, your chin is dropped, the load on your spine is significant, the ligaments are screaming. You've compressed your chest because you're rounding, you're not oxygenating fully when you have a compressed chest cavity. And the other thing about like bad posture is this like feedback loop. Your brain is getting that, it's defeatist. But when you're upright and you have your natural, neutral spine, and you've got the lift of the heart, your sternum's up, the messaging through the body from the mind to the brain to the body is I'm confident. I'm resilient. Life is 95% problems. Come at me. I've got my nervous system that's going to take care of me. And that upright posture is super powerful, but technology makes us ignore our senses. Our senses are our most primal defense for our health. You know, the
Yep.
sight, the sound, you know, smell and taste, you know, just all of these things are so powerful for keeping us in homeostasis. Body, your cells are working 24/7 for you. Your heart, your lungs, they're in your corner. They want you to have, you know, productive days and satisfying. You want to optimize the day, but technology is an obstacle. It's hijacking our senses. Our awareness just is zero. I mean, you've seen people cross the street with those stupid earbuds in. They didn't look left or right. They never would do that if they had those things out of their ears.
So I want to bring in Dr. Tilton for a number of reasons. One, she was waiting very patiently backstage, and two, one of my biggest concerns personally with technology is something that I feel like Dr. Tilton also will share with me, because she also has ADHD, and that is like I have ADHD, and we were talking about earlier that technology is kind of driven to give you constant dopamine hits, and ADHD is driven by dopamine imbalances. And like for me, and I don't know if it happens the same way with you, Dr. Tilton, but like especially when I'm on my computer or I'm on my phone, I can just dial in and there's no return. There's not even a possibility to return. Like I will actively be thinking I need to stop doing this, and I can't. Like it takes an outside force. Like um, I've had this happen where I'll be on the computer late at night or I'll be on my phone late at night, and I'm thinking to myself, Aaron, stop. You need to stop. You need to stop. You need to stop. And it takes for my wife to wake up and be like, hey, stop. And then that'll be the thing that shuts me down and gets me back to normal. But I think that we talk about the mental health impact of our devices and all of these things basically geared to give us constant dopamine hits on your average person, but on somebody who has a dopamine imbalance, because there's a number of things that are related to dopamine imbalance. How much worse can it like is that impact? But on the other hand, is it possible to kind of switch it? Because like one of the things that I've learned about my own ADHD is that my unconscious mind is really strong but really stupid. So I can set up like pathways to kind of undercut the course that I'm on, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I find that I'll decide like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed now. So I get all in bed, I'm ready to go to sleep, and then like maybe someone will text me. So then I feel like I have to pick up, which you don't. Just because you're available 24 hours a day doesn't mean you have to be in contact with people 24 hours a day. The next thing I know, I start scrolling and stuff, and it's like, an hour and a half, 2 hours later. So, and I mean, I'll be scrolling and then a text, and I'm like back and forth, back and forth. And because of my ADHD, I can't just focus on one. So yeah, it's tough.
Well, to that end, the way I look at it is your bedtime is a routine, sleep time, wake time, routine. So important to end the day strong because the night before dictates the next day, right? The sleep that you're going to get. And, I'm going to bed. Well, I also put my phone to bed. And the phone, I put it in a place, it's outside my bedroom. I'm trying to make my bedroom a no phone zone. I'm going to be
Yeah.
okay. I'm going to get up and everything will be fine, right? We will get through the night. And I just won't respond to anything 30 minutes before I go to bed, because I do not want that blue light. I do not want to get that that impact that's going to affect my sleep cycle with the circadian rhythm. So you have just setting boundaries. Like, it's practice. Wellness is a practice, right? We do what we can every day, the best we can, so that today is better than yesterday, and then tomorrow will be better than today. And being hooked into those reels or whatever you're looking at, it's not random. I mean, it's human behavior. You just keep watching them, and you lose all that time, and time is your only currency. So trying to be more powerful than the technology, it takes a real conscious effort. So Erin, when you say to yourself, like, I should stop, you should absolutely stop. Everything's going to be okay. We're going to put that phone down, and to the cycle for the sleep, looking at that phone, and Dr. Tilton, you're aware, probably all of you are aware of this, that blue light is going to affect your sleep cycle, and it will prevent you from getting into that deep REM sleep. And that REM sleep is when you get your detox for your brain. It's like the vacuum cleaner from the brain. It's storing memories. It's emotional balancing, and it's going to impact your next day because you're not going to get that sufficient rest. But it's, cumulatively, with poor sleep hygiene, you're going to shorten your health span, and that's years of vitality. Your lifespan is one number. Hopefully your health span number, how many years you live with vitality, is close to the years you live. But with these bad habits of phones and bedrooms, we're widening the gap between the health span and the lifespan, and we pay the price with assisted living and procedures for our hips and our back, everything from being too sedentary, and we lose out on creating memories with our family. And lots of families are now burdened taking care of their parents while taking care of their children. And just to touch on the wake cycle, everyone, my husband makes me crazy. He grabs his phone first thing in the morning. Well, that's when your cortisol levels are really rising. And, those dopamine hits that you guys were mentioning, the likes, the notifications, all that input, boom, your cortisol is spiked. It's elevated for the day before your feet even hit the ground. So, you know what? You just sabotaged your day. And, everyone's starting to have just a fine day because they're getting used to this.
Yeah. So we have a question from YouTube. How do I recognize when I'm doom scrolling useless information? Everything seems like it needs my attention.
Well, doom scrolling is an epidemic, and you're not alone. It's the algorithms in the phone that keep feeding you information because you think you need it. And it's giving you like that rapid dopamine hit. And how do you recognize it? It's because you've just sat too long. It's got to be where you stand while you're doing it, because sitting, you're going to slump. You're going to get into that compressed, torso position. But if you're standing and just taking a look at it, and you're having to hold your phone in a proper distance without lowering your chin, your shoulder will tell you when it's time to put the phone down, because the load of your arm is going to start to creep into your shoulder girdle. So it's like being mindful, being present, taking care of your home. Your body is your home. This is where you're living for your entire life. And doom scrolling is taking away from your most valuable currency, your time. You're not going to remember those reels. You're not going to get a hug from your phone. They're not going to give you what the human body really needs. And like I touched on earlier, we were, body evolved to move, to have, stimulation, sensory stimulation, to have focus in different distances. Okay, here we are. Movement, nope, we're static, we're sitting. Sensory stimulation, okay, artificial blue light. The focus. We're staying in this zone too long. And, errors will increase. I guarantee you, every time you get up from your computer, you take that little break, and 20 minutes is your max for sitting. I see 30 minutes as a statistic too, but 20 minutes. It should be a timer. When you get up and just stand up, it doesn't take much. And you refocus your eyes because you blink 33% less on your screens. You're going to sit down and you're going to feel a little bit of an extra charge. You're going to notice a mistake in your email. You're going to notice like, oh, that concept I wanted to include, I missed that. You're going to feel better. No one ever went for a walk in nature and came back saying they felt worse.
Right.
But, doom scrolling, it's with how you start it. So don't do it at bedtime. Just make protocols for your daily routines. Stand if you're going to take a few looks at some reels, but just know they're robbing you of your time and your health.
So I want to ask about, because you were talking about the blue light. Do the blue light glasses, how do they work, and do they work? Biggest question, do they work?
Well, I'm not a scientist, and I'm not sure that I can answer it like with a real good technical response, but I think that they do reduce the blue light impact that comes in and affect our nervous system. And Dr. Tracy Tilton, you probably can chime in on this, but they won't really diffuse it at night. If you put not that you want to sleep with your glasses on, but that phone, when it's sitting on your bedside table charging, even if it's upside down, you're still getting impacted by the blue light. So it's coming in, and I don't think there's any real device that can really, change the impact of just what you're seeing on the screen. The blue light, a little bit, it'll diffuse it, but I don't know. I still feel like my eyes are quite strained when I'm on my screen a long time and I'm using my blue light glasses.
Yeah, I know. I think it's always surprising when I look at my phone and it says like how many hours you were on your phone that day. And I'm like, that's not possible. I know I did a lot of other stuff today, but it's always surprises me. I'm like, this is so bad. I can't be on my phone this much, and just going out like 30 years ago, like you were saying, like people went on walks without, their earbuds in or whatever. I know 30 years ago, I had, I memorized like, 30 people's phone numbers. I don't think I know, maybe like 2 phone numbers now I've memorized because it's all in my phone, and I used to be able, say I was meeting a friend at a restaurant and I'd go, I was there early and I would just be able to sit and, think about stuff, kind of wait for them. And now within 2 minutes, I'm on my phone the whole time, just waiting because I can't just sit there and not do anything anymore because my attention span is it's different.
On that end, I feel like there's a societal expectation to be on your phone. Have you ever been somewhere where there's a whole bunch of people and they're not talking to each other and there's just one person who's like looking around and they're not on their phone? That person creeps me out because I'm like, why are you, like, everybody else is on your phone? What is your agenda here, man? And it's like they could just be enjoying the moment, but like there is this societal thing of like, hey, you're expected to be doing something when you're out and in public with people. If you're not actively participating in something, talking to somebody, whatever, then be on your phone and doing something, which is like, it's kind of weird, but I can't deny like it's there. And I've caught myself being
Yeah.
like, what's going on, man?
Yeah, you make a good point because you will see like 4 people at dinner and none of them are talking. They're still on their phones.
Yeah.
There's so many things I want to bring up at the moment, but just thank you for sharing everything, guys. One of the things I wanted to ask you about in terms of the technology or the word that we have that's brought up quite often is the word grounding, right? What does that mean to you? And some way or shape or form, like we are privileged to have like forest or walk paths around us to go on walks. But for some people, like a busy like a New York lifestyle, right, or wherever they are, they have marketed a thing called grounding sheets, which is, of course, I don't know what the concept, but it's controlled by your phone. Again, use and then while you sleep, it helps you ground to the earth. So I just didn't know if you knew anything about that or not.
So the sheets, like the physical sheets that you sleep on,
Exactly. Yep.
ground you. Well, that's an interesting concept. I am not aware of it, but for me, any tool that's going to help you reset and escape the digital world and just be mindful to just let your body take that restorative time overnight or whatever amount of time that they're on those sheets. It's good. It's a check mark in their favor. They're doing something that's for them. And all of us, we're very important people. We're important to our loved ones. We're on a journey, and like anything we can do to protect ourselves so that we can be living longer, stronger, healthier lives is a favor to our families. And so I applaud anyone that does anything that's prioritizing their well-being. I mean, how many of us feel like we're at the bottom of the list? We're givers, we're pleasers, we're maybe not even, on the list. It's super important to switch that and put yourself at the top of the list, because everything will cascade down from there. Your life will be better, your productivity more efficient, more effective. Your brain is designed to be efficient. It needs reset breaks. Grounding is very good. Like grounding, it could be just simple, like 3 minutes, and I'm just going to stare at a flickering candle. It could be your morning routine. I'm not going to take a to-go cup of coffee. I'm going to have a stay-home cup of coffee. Just 3, 4, 5 minutes. I'm telling you, your body is like, it's great. It soothes your nervous system so that as you problem solve throughout the day, because life is it's just problem solving for the most part, you're going to have a little more presence in handling those situations when you've been taking care of yourself. And, when it comes to frustration, anxiety, things that come at you, your first response should be a deep inhale, and to get out of that emotional brain and get into the logical brain so that you can respond with thoughtfulness, not like let your horns come up and steam come out of your ears. And then you've just burned energy. Your body wants to conserve energy.
So we have a question of what do you think about playing video games versus doom scrolling? I love this question because I definitely, like, I personally am just as likely, if not more likely, to get caught up and like locked in at the end of the day and have trouble playing video games than doom scrolling. Because I feel like with doom scrolling, I have like an anger meter where like I'll be reading something and whatever, and so much of what's out there is just designed to make you angry or like overly emotionally engaged. And I have this point where I'm just like, okay, I'm feeling a little hot, I'm out. But with video games, there's none of that. And it's so much, for me personally, it's so much more difficult for me to register the time wasted, or that, I wanted to go to sleep 2 hours ago and I'm still up. And yeah.
So I will offer my opinion on the video games as I reflect on like what has happened in our last couple of years with AI and ChatGPT, where we're in a cognitive decline because we have all these solutions just readily available to us. So we're not taking that struggle in the brain to try and solve a problem and move forward and navigate it. And find expression in the solution, it's voila, it's right there through ChatGPT or AI. So with video games, I think they're very positive for sharpening the mind, because you're constantly trying to find how to like be smarter than the game. And in general, your posture is more erect because you're tuned in, and you're getting a lot of sensory enrichment, right? And you're safe because you're sitting or maybe standing playing a game. You're not walking with technology out into a street. You're in a safe environment. I think there's a lot of good analytical skills that you can get from video games, but I think too, they need boundaries, because a video game is not something that you can hug, and it is taking you into social isolation. Perhaps maybe you are playing with another person, but people need people. And that is another big problem with technology, is the social isolation that goes hand in hand with the sedentary lifestyle. And sedentary is like the new smoking. The social isolation, if you think about it, like what is like torture in a prison? You're put into you're isolated. You're in a cell all by yourself. And that just creates a whole bunch of problems for a person to be socially isolated. And with video games or doom scrolling, you are self-selecting yourself to be isolated from other people.
One of the things, Tracy.
Oh, go ahead, Robbie.
No, I was gonna say one of the things that Aaron and Tracy, you both mentioned about sitting or waiting at a restaurant. There's a term in Europe which is called like the solo table theory, where you are just in solitude within yourself and you just look around. Like people watch is one of probably the greatest thing some people can do at a restaurant. So I don't know how that has not turned over on the US side of things, where like, why is it not okay for us to just sit and look around? Like people may think like you're weird or you're like watching someone, but it's just a normal thing for a lot of countries.
Oh, it is. Sorry, Dr. Tilton, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
I did a blog on, the phones at the table and how they're ruining relationships and killing business deals. The person can't connect with somebody else if they're on a phone. You're half attention. Your body, there's no such thing as multitasking. It's task switching. And it's like the new mother who is got a little baby, and she's still got her job, and she's trying to take care of her home, and she's trying to do everything well, but she's not doing anything exceptionally well. She's just half is what she would say is like, I'm doing half the job. But that's what a phone is when it's present. And it baffles me why the hell do you go out for dinner, bring your toddlers and hook them up to, your phones and an iPad and get it all staged. And then the husband and wife are sitting there on your goddamn phones. Like it's ludicrous. You can't connect. This is the time to find out how the day was. And this, your mission with mental well-being and helping to foster the right therapist with the person, the mental health has been so harmed by technology because we don't know each other anymore. And it's sad. Like Aaron, you said you feel uncomfortable when that one person isn't on their phone and they're available and they're present. And that's what we should be, not digitally distracted.
It's also because I know there are people watching, because if I'm not on my phone, that is absolutely what I'm doing. And I think that this is just my own personal belief. There's nothing outside of my own personal belief. But I feel like that is part of what, like, the societal weirdness to people not being on their phone is because we all used to people watch and we just kind of were okay with it. And you know, there were some people who'd be out in public just dancing like nobody's watching, and then there'd be other people who were very, you know, reserved and anxious about it. And now I feel like the phone has just, we're all just, you know, like we're all just on our phone, if that makes any sense. I don't like to play devil's advocate in that scenario. I don't know that I can say it's 100% a bad thing. I've absolutely been the person out in public who's just an anxious ball of energy who feels like everybody's looking at me. If I'm on my phone, that anxious ball of energy is gone. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'm just looking at stuff on my phone. So, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I 100% agree with you that we're overly reliant on technology, and we're not even relying on it. We're just overusing it. But I also think that there's the other side of it where it does provide a service. It does help us in a mental health capacity, or it can. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are definitely some issues there, but personally, if I'm out in public and I'm waiting on people, or I'm waiting on something, I would much rather be on my phone than not, because I'll immediately turn into that anxious ball of energy where I'm just like, okay, I know somebody's people watching and staring at me, and like it's just kind of a worse version of doom scrolling going on in my head.
So that is a great example of being mindful, and you're actually being very present. You're like, you know, you go through, it's crazy, 35,000 micro decisions a day. Sometimes they're unconscious, but there's so many decisions you're making in a day, and you're in this environment and you're feeling it, and your mind is taking it in, and then the brain is telling the body what to do. And you're like, okay, I'm going to feel better just, you know, catching up on some news, or maybe there's a little, I don't know, game I like to play on my phone. It's serving you as a tool. It hasn't crossed over into being abusive, or it's taking you down the illness path. It's actually a good tool in that example, but it's being thoughtful and mindful that I'm using this for a reason, and you're purposeful with it, and so there's no regret. So I think in that case, it's good. I do find it to be a bit sad when you have a big group of people in a room and no one's talking. That's why you're there, right? Or why you're there then? If you're in a big group together, like if it's for a reason, if you're just a bunch of strangers, you have no idea what, you know, you're waiting for the subway or something. Okay, that's different. But
well, go ahead. I wanted to make a comment about the screens with little kids. I don't have kids, but many of my friends do, and I notice that maybe they tell the kid to do something, and the kid is disobeying until they threaten to take the screens. And usually, like 9 times out of 10, then they change like that, because they're like, no, not my screens. And, you know, my friends have said, like, you know, when I was pregnant, I said I would never let my kid be on a screen until they were older. And, you know, I don't want to do that. And then they're like, I find myself doing it because sometimes I just need them to be quiet, and they will be quiet if they're on their screen, you know, whether we're out to dinner at their house or whatever. So it's interesting to watch that. And, you know, and our parents setting a good example themselves by already, you know, it being on their phone or iPad or whatever so much.
It's the kids are getting all those rapid dopamine hits, right? So it's feeding them, making them, you know, giving that, like, whatever, those little micro highs.
Yeah.
It's a digital babysitter for the mom. You know, can't blame it.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
It's hard. And when I had my children, we didn't have phones, and my kids are actually really grateful for it, you know. And when they did get phones, we would go to Canada every summer where I grew up, and we spent a month there, and there was no wireless, nothing. So all of our devices just basically went in a junk drawer for that month. And it was the best month ever. We had to really resort to, like, being together and games, and it was really fun. But these children with these screens, they're now not developing social skills.
Like they don't go outside and play as much, stuff like that we did when, I mean, I'm 53. So when I was very young, we had to go outside and play. Like we weren't allowed to sit inside and watch at that, just a TV at that point, you know.
Yeah, you're getting all this fresh air and all the sensory enrichment, which we were evolved to thrive from. And so now these kids are sedentary. They are straining their bodies because they're not even, moving, and their bodies are changing for sure with this whole tech neck epidemic of chins down and the shoulders and the pain. And I have created products to help with that. And, but also we're getting tech body. Tech body is, the sedentary lifestyle is, creating problems with our hips. And, also even when we are walking and we're on our phones, we're not even paying attention to how we're walking. So we may not be walking with a proper gait, maybe the toes are going out slightly. Well then, okay, great. Now I'm just wearing my joints out unevenly because you're not present, you're not paying attention. Or you're standing and you're on your phone and you're leaning into one hip, you're kind of dumping into one hip. Okay, that's going to cause problems if you constantly do that. And also, like, you're on your phone, your senses are numbed, you're not really paying attention, and you're getting that dopamine. Well, that also translates into food, and obesity is up, not because it's just sedentary, but just by food choices. So the dopamine that we're getting in our brain from the digital input, okay, the cousin to that is processed food and that sugar, salt. And you're not even noticing how much you're eating, how quickly you're eating. And generally, if you eat fast, you eat too much because your body hasn't been able to catch up to, I'm full, no more. And that is creating, that exacerbates the obesity, which means diabetes and insulin resistance, inflammation. The list goes on. And where do we end up? Widening that health span, lifespan gap. And that sucks. But wellness is a practice, and every little micro decision you make, because your mind is all yours. You are in control of your body. You're 100% responsible for your life, your health, your happiness. No one's going to come and, take care of you. You can't buy wellness off the shelf at Target. It is a practice. And the more you catch yourself and you move to the wellness path, because it's the illness path, then you've been putting yourself on the top of the list. And that's good. And it feels good. And then your energy affects other people's energy. When you are feeling good, it's a cycle.
Well, I find like people, I do yoga a lot, and people now, they have to put sign outside the doors that say like phone etiquette. And because I bet 90% of the people bring their phones in before class starts. And it just annoys me. And I don't even it just annoys me to see them on their phones. Because I'm like, you can't even sit here like where you're supposed to do and kind of get in the, space and get ready for yoga. And you can't do that. I mean, people don't usually use them during class, but I see some people every once in a while look at their phone and maybe type back something. And when we're like actively doing class, and like, I don't get it, but I mean, I get it, but I don't. I don't understand why you would do that, but I get that people are doing it.
I think it taps into our whole shift from COVID into hybrid work environments where, people are trying to, I'm connected, I'm on, and they're doing things personally. So they're blurring the professional and personal life and going and using phones in environments where they maybe normally wouldn't. But I teach exercise classes like bar and yoga and stuff. And for the most part, they don't bring their phones in. But when they do, I ask, like, if there's a specific reason, like expecting a call from the, the nurse, school, or whatever. And if there isn't really a specific reason, I just say, this is your hour, and you are not going to get to really escape and take care of yourself if you have that distraction and you're constantly checking. You're not going to be able to listen to me or take it into your body, whatever I'm asking you to do. You suffer. I'm like, keep it if you want. I mean, I can't make anybody do anything, but I don't understand it either. But it's this fear of missing out, that whole FOMO.
Yeah, I mean, earlier you said like none of us are that important, like that we can't live without our. I mean, I don't think most people are, but yeah. I mean, I did it once when it was my turn to be on call because I had to people were going on suicide watch and stuff like that. Like I worked in corrections. So I brought it in once and I told the teacher beforehand, I'm like, I'm on call and I can't miss when they call me. But I have it on silent. So it's just if I happen to look at it, then I'll see it. But I certainly didn't, have it ringing or anything like that.
Oh, that's where it's a tool of use, and it's mindful, thoughtful, purposeful decision that you made. And instead of just constantly hanging on to your digital device, it's a crutch.
Yeah.
So I hate to end this because I feel like we're getting into really good meat of the conversation, exactly where and how everything relates to our dependence on the phone and things we can do and all of that. But unfortunately, we are at time, and I do have to end it. To have you on for a longer discussion, Steph, because this was great, and I feel like we just got the chance to scratch the surface on this, and I do think that technology, and especially the way that the world is evolving around technology, is really impacting our mental health in often a not positive way, and it is conversations that we need to start having so that we're not kind of taken off guard even further than we already are by it. But thank you again. Thank you to Dr. Tilden, Ali, Ravi for joining us. Thank you to everybody who's watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steph.
Thank you.